Oh, hello there! In this series, we will be exploring the rendering pipeline as used for ray tracing voxels. In essence, we will be making RTX Minecraft from the ground up, but instead of using 2011 Java, we will be using the Unity game engine. First, let's define what ray tracing even is. Ray tracing is when a collection of objects is rendered to a screen of pixels by using mathematical line intersection functions. Rays are lines. They are purely one-dimensional figures. From each ray can be derived a singular, finite point of intersection with your scene. The intersection results in a color value, drawn as a pixel on your screen. To draw an entire screen of colors, a grid of rays must be shot out for every single pixel. With a high-definition display in 1920 by 1080 resolution, for example, this results in over 2 million rays being calculated. This is greatly cumbersome to calculate in sequence, as you would on a CPU. Once you consider additional rays that are required for shadows and reflections, performance suffers. This means ray tracing has been historically used for realistic light simulation, but not for real-time applications. The GPU was invented to speed up rendering by allowing many similar mathematical calculations to be run in parallel. Though this has been utilized primarily for the scanline raster pipeline as we see in most modern games, it can be equally harnessed for ray tracing. Today we will implement a naive foundation and get abstract scenes rendering. To begin, we will set up a simple Unity scene. Instead of the typical shaders used in rasterization, we will harness the raw power of the GPU for our own uses. Unity's Compute Shader feature allows us to process arbitrary data on the GPU in whatever way we want. I set up the Compute Shader to replace the typical camera shader. It uses the camera's position and orientation to generate its own grid of rays, which will each return 1 pixel color value. Now, each ray is returning a 2D slice of the 3D block grid. Once extended to 3D block indexing, we have liftoff. Each ray steps forward in short steps until hitting cubic bounds. Taking smaller steps fixes the rays stepping past cube edges and missing a hit entirely. The intersection position in XYZ coordinates can be used as an RGB color value in the output. There are many such ways to determine color while debugging. Slowly, the shader is learning to read our block grid correctly, creating more complex geometry. From this point on, I decided to forget our grid and get creative. Ray tracing is very effective for finding intersections with any primitive shape, such as a sphere. If the ray steps and is within the radius of a point, it returns a color. By flattening the ray's position to arbitrary XYZ coordinate grids, this creates voxels out of perfect shapes. We can take our ray and have it loop back around whenever it escapes the boundaries of our scene. This mimics the object recurring infinitely in space. We are not confined to just basic shapes. Any mathematical function can determine intersection. By altering the function real-time, we can animate psychedelic shapes that appear four-dimensional or otherwise incomprehensible. The following clips are a combination of abstract shape functions, looping boundaries, and voxelization. At this point, I think the clips can speak for themselves, so please enjoy the following montage. Next episode, we will implement levels of detail, loading in more complex block geometry, and edge-perfect collision. See you then!